the nickel market go through quite some turbulence this year, with the trading price spiking to over $100,000 in March. Although this was largely attributed to the investment decisions of Qingshan Holding Group, the underlying factor that induced so much uncertainty in the market was Russian supply disruption fears following the invasion of Ukraine. For some, this has increased production cost, as producers need to source alternative feeds, while for others, deliveries have been delayed due to logistical disruptions. Even now, the trading price of nickel remains heightened and detached from actual supply and demand dynamics. The mounting production coming online in Indonesia is not actually reflected in the current trading price of nickel because NPI and ferronickel are not deliverable against LME's warehouses, as they only accept Class 1 nickel. We are expecting prices to ease in the short term as uncertainty continues to subside. Indonesia will certainly be the main player of nickel development. The country currently produces over half of total global supply, whether it's mined ore or finished products. And on top of this, it has also become the largest demand source, thanks to rapid development in the stainless steel industry downstream. And this demand is only expected to continue growing with the introduction of the export tax that the government has alluded to. With all this excitement about battery development, we're also seeing increased battery-grade production capacity coming online. You've got the HPALs producing MHP for the Chinese producers, and you've got the RKEF smelters transitioning to matte production, which will also be used in the battery sector. Even the government is intending on growing domestic battery demand by pushing for consumer EV adoption in the country. So Indonesia is proposing to form an OPEC-like organization for nickel suppliers to coordinate their supply chains. And this would be a smart move for the country because it would give it more bargaining power when consumers, especially in countries where EVs are made, are stressing this idea of resource protectionism. For example, the Inflation Reduction Act in the US will only grant an EV tax credit to vehicles which have been manufactured with materials that are at least 40% sourced domestically or from a country with which it has a free trade agreement. This means that nickel or battery materials produced in Indonesia, which is not a US free trade partner and whose operations are mainly Chinese-controlled, will not qualify for this incentive. Although an OPEC-like cartel might be beneficial for Indonesia, it's less so for other nickel producers like Canada, whose production already qualifies for the tax credit. So Indonesia might have a hard time recruiting members for this initiative. Since nickel is pivoting towards the battery sector, consumers will want low carbon sources to ensure that the EVs they buy actually have a lower carbon footprint. So demand will become more selective in the longer term, with producers preferring cleaner and greener nickel. This may be where Indonesia will have a slight disadvantage since their deposits are laterites, which by default require more energy-intensive processing compared to sulfide ores due to lower grades and higher moisture content. The country's energy grid is also very reliant on coal power, and the transition to renewable power has been relatively slow. If producers want green nickel, we're expecting this to mainly come from Canada and Australia. These places have been quicker adopters of renewable energy. For example, you've got BHP's Nickel West, which will be mostly, if not fully, solar and wind powered by 2024, while Glencore is also aiming to develop a fully electric mine at Onaping Depth in Canada. Another thing is that these countries are mining sulfide deposits, which require less extraction steps to produce nickel sulfate, which is what's used in batteries. Even though there are laterites in Australia, they have been comparatively less developed as they require additional processing.